The Ivy League has tanked their season. They've totally canceled lacrosse altogether. It is a terrible day for the lacrosse world completely. It's got to be heartbreaking for those kids. You've got, not for all of the kids, but you got a guy particularly like Michael Sowers, best player in the country right now, was pretty much owning the Tewaaraton up to this point. His season gone. You have Cornell, you have Yale, you have Princeton playing really well, all ranked very highly, and then just for the Ivy to just be done and not a part of the lacrosse landscape for the rest of the season. I'm hoping that we all wake up in the morning and that they come back and say, hey, you know what? We like what Maryland did. We liked the measured response to what, to something like this, the way Maryland put it out, where Maryland is going to limit fans down to just what's necessary, parents, close family. They're going to clean these facilities like crazy. They're going to continue to clean these facilities like crazy as the events are taking place. Extra hand cleaner, making sure that people are separated enough. They're going to take every precaution they can to try to limit people's exposure, keep people as separated as possible. It is an outdoor event as well, so that helps. But that's a measured response to something like this at this point. Just coming in and canceling a season outright, I don't know if that's the way to go. The LaxFactor Podcast. What is up, college lacrosse fans? You're watching the 91st episode of the LaxFactor Lacrosse Podcast. Today, we are going to stick to talking about the games that are being played. We've got Hopkins and Navy, Cuse, Rutgers, Maryland, and Virginia. We've got a lot of lacrosse to talk about. Before I get into it, wanted to talk quickly about our sponsor, Sideline Swap. Best place to buy and sell lacrosse gear, hard to find college gear, pre-owned heads, shafts, helmets, and more, up to 70% off retail. Go to sidelineswap.com or click the link in the description below. I just sold a pair of Maryland flag lacrosse shorts on Sideline Swap. They actually sold yesterday. We shipped them today because they gave me a prepaid label. It was super easy. So sidelineswap.com or link in the description below. As always, you can subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can go to laxfactor.com as well and watch our videos, listen to our audio podcast, and buy swag, t-shirts, and crap like that there as well. All right, that's it. Let's get into this. Hopkins at Navy. Both teams have struggled so far this season. Navy's sitting at 3-2, and Hopkins is sitting at 2-4, almost 1-5, but they did squeak that win out over Mount St. Mary's. And don't get it twisted, the Mount is a very good lacrosse team. Hopkins losses, they come to Loyola, Carolina, Princeton, and Syracuse. All very good teams. Yes, Hopkins is 2-4. Yes, the Hopkins faithful are super angry that Hopkins is 2-4. And their only win, over Towson and then this win over Mount St. Mary's, they're not pleased with that. And it may be too little too late, but I do think that there was some good things that we saw in that game against Mount St. Mary's. I do think that they're going to carry that momentum into this Navy game. Again, probably too little too late for Hopkins. They'd have to win out right now pretty much to have any hopes of anything. But Cole Williams, he goes 4-1. Owen Murphy 1-3 with the game winner. Epstein 2-1 off 4 shots. I wanted to set this line higher. Skatis was Hopkins 1.5, and I was Navy by 1.5. I decided to meet him because once I looked at everything, it was like, Hopkins is riding some good momentum, and they do look better. So setting the line for this one at Hopkins by a goal. Next game, Lehigh at Army, another good rivalry. Lehigh has won the last 2, but Army won the previous 4. Army has wins over UMass and Rutgers is a very good 2-4 team. They've got that bad loss to Marist, a close loss to Syracuse, but Brendan Nickturn is a monster, and he will be the best player on the field in this game for sure. Lehigh wins over Navy and Holy Cross, then close losses to UVA, but UVA tends to play down here and there, and they've had a rough season anyway. Army has the better margin over their like opponents, New Jersey Tech and Holy Cross. And then, I kind of like that. I like that Army has the best player on the field. Army's just played a slightly tougher schedule, I believe. So in this one, we are going to go Army by 1.5. I think Army's going to, an Army a favorite by 1.5 goals is good, and I think that it could go either way for this one. Next game, I want to talk about Virginia at Maryland. UVA coming off a tough 14-13 loss to Brown on the road. Matt Moore has a big day for UVA in that loss. Maryland coming off a closer than expected 14-13 win over Albany at home. Logan Wisnauskas feasted in that one for the Terps. So both of these teams, they have similar problems. They had similar scores last week, although different results in the end. But both of them have similar problems. If things aren't going totally smoothly on the offensive end, they are often turning the ball over and going off the rails. And oftentimes that's translated into runs for the other team. These teams will both put points up in spurts, but they will also give points up in spurts as well. And that's why they both have played a lot of close games. And Virginia here and there has dropped a couple, as has Maryland. I think Maryland, though, is playing a little bit better defensively at this point. I think, though, that Virginia's probably looking a little bit better in cage than Maryland is. But I like Maryland at home as well in this one. I like Maryland's momentum in this one. So setting the line, this one, Maryland, 1.5 favorite. But this is one where if I were to take this bet, I would take UVA at plus 1.5, because I think that the chance that they only lose by a goal or win is good enough. I think that I would probably take that one, but I do honestly think that Maryland's probably going to pull out a 1 or 2 goal game in this one. Syracuse at Rutgers. Rutgers is a team that traditionally, when they play Syracuse tough. They actually beat Cuse in 2018 by 4. Cuse beat them back by 4 in 2019. Syracuse is a beast, though, and I just don't think that Rutgers is capable of going a full 4 quarters with Syracuse and their top 9 offensive guys specifically. Scanlon at attack has been playing much better. Good all season outside of the one game that he didn't do well at all. Trimboli and Curry have factored heavily in every game. Dordovic's now playing really well. That second midfield line has struggled a little bit, but they played better last week, and I think that they're shoring things up. So that top 9 offensively for Syracuse can play with anyone. We may have Mellon back. I'm not 100% sure, but the Syracuse defense has played well without him, as well as you could expect for a bunch of young guys without a lot of starting experience at close D to play anyway. And then you got Porter and Cage. So I think in the end, Rutgers, I wouldn't be surprised to see them hang through 4 quarters, but I think that by the 4th quarter, you'll see Syracuse extend that lead if it's close at that point, from a 2-goal game, 3-goal game, 4-goal game. I think by the end, we're setting the line at this one, Syracuse by 5 goals, I think, by the end, and it could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised if Syracuse comes out and rolls, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Rutgers makes a semi-decent game of it. Georgetown at North Carolina. Georgetown's opponents combined record 14-26, if I counted those right. UNC's 16-29, if I counted that right. Argument against both of these teams. They haven't played anyone en route to their undefeated records thus far as they come to clash together. Both teams have only played 2 teams with winning records. Georgetown's 6-0 and UNC, I think, is 7-0. I think that the deciding factor ends up being gray here. Both teams are better than expected defensively. Both teams have goalkeepers that are capable of coming out and standing on their heads on any given day. Both have proven that they could come out and lay a fart on the field from time to time as well. I think, though, the big difference becomes only one team has a player on their roster named Chris Gray. That's the Tar Heels. So setting the line here, UNC by 2.5. But once again, this is one of those ones where Georgetown can score a lot of points. I think this will be a high-scoring game, which in high-scoring games, sometimes they end up being close, but sometimes in those higher-scoring games, you end up with a 3-4 goal margin by the end as teams try to press a little bit, and it's already a up and down, crazy, streaky offensive run, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm starting to really ramble. You can tell it's been a long day, and the coronavirus really has me down. A couple of lines just to set and rip through. Bucknell at Loyola. We are setting Loyola as a 2.5-point favorite. Denver at Ohio State. Denver a 2-goal favorite. And Michigan at Notre Dame. Notre Dame a 4.5 goal favorite. So that is it. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you're notified when we put out more videos. You can go to LaxFactor.com. You can get yourself hats, t-shirts, mugs. We're adding new t-shirts and new coffee mugs and all sorts of things there all the time, so you can support us that way. Or you could go to our sponsor, SidelineSwap.com, link in the description below. As I said, we just sold a pair of Maryland flag shorts there the other day using the service ourselves, and ship them out to that lucky person. Went out in today's mail, actually. So as always, we will be back for Monday's recap show. May put out some other videos here talking about the coronavirus a little bit in the meantime, but be sure to come back. You're watching this, and it's probably Thursday. So be sure to come back, and Monday we will have the week end review, whatever the hell we call it, weekend review show or whatever the hell it is. We'll talk about the games that were played on Monday, and that is it. As always, thank you for watching, and Hoost is out.